Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to really get into the essential insights, cutting through all the noise. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a topic lots of people think about, vegetarianism. And our source for this, it's a really thoughtful dialogue between two people, Emma, who's vegetarian, and Daniel. He eats meat, but he's really open to talking about it. Very curious. So our mission today is kind of two things. First, pull out the key bits of knowledge, the ethical side, nutrition, the practical aspects of vegetarianism that they discuss, but maybe even more important, we're going to look at how they talk about it, how Emma and Daniel managed to discuss these, really different views so politely, constructively. So for you listening, the big question is, how do we actually handle a topic like this? One that's so personal, often debated. How do we do it with clarity, understanding both sides without things, blowing up?
Yeah, and what's really great about this source is it wasn't just some random chat. It feels like it was set up, specifically designed even, to show how you can have respectful debates. Even when you have really different views, it's kind of a masterclass in holding your ground, but still, having a real conversation, that's pretty rare.
It really is, yeah. So you've got Emma living that vegetarian life, and then Daniel who eats meat, but he's not defensive.
What?
He seems genuinely ready to listen, maybe learn something.
Exactly. That starting point, that openness, it makes the whole thing work.
Right. So Emma gets things rolling. And what she brings up, it's not just about food, is it? It's more like a whole philosophy behind it. Let's dig into her core reasons, the ethical stuff, the environmental concerns she raises in the source. What's driving her?
Well, her point wasn't just, I've heard this. It really zeroed in on the idea that our food choices, they aren't just personal. They're like a daily vote. You're voting for or against certain industry practices every time you eat. So it's not just animal welfare matters in the abstract. It's that vegetarianism becomes, for her, a way to directly advocate. She links animal welfare to, a critique of big industrial farming, wants a more humane way. And on the environment, she talks about a sustainable diet, how cutting down on meat can seriously reduce our ecological footprint. Water use, emissions, all that stuff.
Ah, okay. So it's systemic thinking about the whole system.
Exactly. It's seeing the wider impact of what's just, on your plate.
So it's not just about what you stop eating, it's the statement you're making about the food system itself. Okay, let's unpack this. So what does this all mean for how we think about the broader impact of our food choices beyond just what's on our plate? What's the takeaway if you're not going to go full vegetarian, maybe?
That's a good question, because the source kind of hints it's not all or nothing. The insight seems to be that, every choice adds up. It's about understanding where the biggest impacts are in our food systems. So maybe focusing on cutting back on, say, certain types of meat, or finding local pasture-raised options if you can. That could be a big step.
Right.
Even if you're not fully vegetarian, it's about making more sort of conscious choices, maybe. Not necessarily a huge diet overhaul overnight.
Emma definitely makes a strong case. But Daniel, from the meat eater side, he raises some points too, valid ones. What were his main concerns, especially around practicality and nutrition?
Daniel brings up things that, honestly, probably worry a lot of people. He talks about protein sources, questioning if it's really easy to get enough protein without meat, especially if you're active, maybe. And he also touches on just the everyday feasibility, like convenience, cost, what happens when you eat out with friends, social situations. His point is basically the ideals are strong, sure, but the actual day-to-day reality of a strict vegetarian diet, it can be tough for some people. There are real hurdles, which, it raises an important question. How do we balance these practical needs, these nutritional concerns, with those ethical and environmental points Emma was making?
That balance is key, absolutely. But moving beyond just the food arguments, what I found really fascinating in this source is how they talked. How it shows you how to agree or disagree politely. That feels like a massive takeaway for you listening for any tricky conversation, really.
Oh, totally. It's like a mini guide to good communication.
Yeah.
They use specific techniques like stating personal beliefs clearly, I strongly believe sort of thing. It grounds their view without being aggressive. And then they used contrastive words really well. Phrases like, while I understand that, or on the flip side, on the other hand, although. These let them show they heard the other person, but here's their different take. Does it clearly, without making it a fight.
Right. It wasn't just like, here's my point, now your turn. They seem to actually build on each other's points, even in disagreement.
Exactly. And they use polite disagreement, too. Things like, that's an interesting point, but, even rhetorical questions sometimes to make the other person think without directly attacking their idea. It felt like a genuine exchange, people actually listening and responding, not just waiting to talk.
Yeah, you really feel that.
Did you notice any moments, though, where maybe one of them could have pushed back a bit more? Or maybe miss a chance to explore something?
That's interesting. Thinking back, maybe Daniel.
Hmm.
He mentioned practicality and cost, but perhaps he could have gone deeper into the cost factor specifically. Like sometimes those meat substance or specialty veg items, they can be pricey.
Yeah.
Right? That's a real barrier for lots of people. Could have added another layer to his practicality point. But yeah, this is where it gets really interesting for you, the listener. How can you use these little shifts in language, these phrases? How can you apply them in your own difficult conversations? It can totally change the vibe.
It really shows you can be firm in what you believe, but still respectful, still genuinely acknowledge where the other person is coming from. It's about like making room for different perspectives to coexist in the conversation.
Yeah, creating that space. So beyond the arguments, their chat also brought up some key words, didn't it? Terms that kept popping up.
Right.
What were those main ones that kind of defined the discussion?
Definitely. Plant-based came up. Emma used it not just to mean no meat, but more like a focus on whole foods from plants.
Right.
Animal welfare, that was Emma's ethical anchor, obviously. Looking beyond just treatment to the whole system. Then Daniel's protein sources. That really hit on that common worry about getting enough nutrition without meat, strength, feeling full, that kind of thing. And sustainable diet. That was the big umbrella term for the environmental side. A call for eating in a more eco-friendly way.
Yeah.
These terms really capture the different angles they were looking at. Shows how tangled up ethics, health, environment, and practicality all are in this one topic.
So we've covered a lot today, journeyed through these different views on vegetarianism, Emma's ethics and environment, Daniel's practicality and nutrition. But maybe the biggest lesson isn't just about what we eat. It's about how we talk about things that matter deeply to us. That art of respectful dialogue.
Absolutely. And if we zoom out, think about the bigger picture. Personal values, choices. What does this deep dive into vegetarianism tell us about tackling any topic where people have strong beliefs? Maybe it's about moving past just agreeing to disagree towards genuinely trying to understand the different views out there. So you can engage with more clarity, maybe more confidence, and definitely more openness. What new questions does this raise for you about how we bridge divides in conversation?